are somebody who has spent tons of time, tons of money, and you still don't have the life and body and balance that you have in your mind, this show is for you. So I'm gonna go over key things to learn to master food addiction and getting in that body that makes you feel your best. So, hi, my name is Karla Adams. I have 26 years experience in exercise science and sports nutrition. These are some of my clients. You can see more on the front of the page. I've worked with people for over 26 years on clean eating and exercise and helping them master lifestyle transformation. And food addiction is a huge part of that. So let's get into it. Okay, so here's a really interesting statistic, okay? So just so you can gauge where you're at. So in self-development or inner work, the more we can understand the spectrum of things, the more we can understand where we lie in the spectrum and where we want to be. And that really helps with focusing the mind and focusing goals. So here are some really interesting statistics. So number one, we've had more changes the past 300 years than in the past 10,000 years to our food industry. Okay, and the definition of food has actually changed over time. So on this channel, I really focus on the original definition and the first definition of food, and that's the food that comes from the earth, and really spending a lot of time on that. The other statistic is 75% of people master a lifelong habit of exercise. Okay, and these are called the lifers, right? That's a certain group that we can raise our hand to be a part of. I actually believe it's closer to like 12 or 15% now because you can see all the gyms being super packed. But that's awesome. People are mastering exercise. But here's another interesting thing. And this is where it starts tying into the food and food addiction and many other issues that come in with the food, because the addiction is not the only part. So out of the 75% that are actually mastering a lifelong habit of exercise, okay, and what mastery means is, you know, they might take a week off or a month off, but for the most part, their entire life, they exercise. They're exercising at home, they're exercising at the gym, they're exercising on vacation. They are exercising, and it's in their routine. It's embodied in them emotionally. It's part of who they are, and the people in their life probably recognize them as an exerciser, just like we recognize the Coke brand or any other popular brand, right? They've been branded. But out of those lifers, the 75% the 12% that master a lifelong habit of exercise, on paper it's 10, but I believe it's 12 to 15 of the exercisers, right? 75% of them never reach the goal they really want that's in their mind. Okay, so this may be one of you. If you're an exerciser and you still have not mastered food and you're dealing with food addiction, this is your category. So it's multifaceted why this 75% does not reach the goal they really have in their mind. But food addiction is part of it. It's actually multifaceted, and I'm sure that it kind of shifts a little bit per person. But food addiction is part of that. Understanding what type of how to achieve the balance with the food and the exercise and life. And then, you know, consistency, the right information. I mean, it's multifaceted, and I'm sure per person it changes. So 10 to 15% master a lifelong habit of exercise. 75% never reach the goal they really want. Out of the 25 that are, 90% of them are working with a professional. Okay, and out of the 10% that are not working with a professional, they probably hit mastery position. And that's one of the points of my channel, is actually to really teach how to master clean eating and regular exercise. Okay, so food addiction. So the first thing I want to recommend when it comes to food addiction, this is one of my favorite books. It's called The Law of Recognition. And the law of recognition is a natural law. Okay, we have legal laws that get written in that our government and country or companies, they want us to follow those written laws, right? Well, natural laws are a little bit different. Okay, natural laws are going to happen no matter what we change on a piece of paper. It does not matter what we write or what a human decides. These natural laws pre-exist humans. Okay, and it's kind of like gravity, right? I drop the book, it falls. That's a natural law, right? there's natural laws and natural flows to everything in our life. Okay, one of my last videos, I kept bringing up and talking about the natural flow, that if you really want to get self-control, you need to master the flow of your lane. And if you're not able to master your nutrition, your fitness, you have not mastered the flow. Because the body and nutrition has a flow, just like money has a flow. Okay, nobody gets to make up how money works. We can sometimes be blessed with a bunch of money, where we don't have to do as much management of it or be as responsible. But in any case, and most people have to be responsible and budget their money, we don't get to make up the rules. We have to put a budget together, and there's certain things that we just do not get to make up on that budget. But what happens on a budget if we don't give recognition? What happens if we don't say a crisis is going to happen, or a medical condition is going to happen, or my kids don't need to go to college, or I don't need a house? What happens if we don't give recognition to one of those? Well, then there's no money there for it. The flow of money, right? So there's certain things in the flow of nutrition and the body that if we do not give recognition to it, then we do not get the benefits of giving the recognition. And one of the things I'm going to go in towards the later part of the show is all the benefits that start to come in when you actually do give recognition, okay? And the power of giving this recognition. Okay, so the laws of recognition. And another really cool thing, something I super love about this book, I'm a super busy entrepreneur, and everything in here actually maps back to the Bible. And they're one-liners that you can actually just spend 5 minutes reading and get core laws of recognition that match the laws of this world and match the Bible. And you can spend more time or less time. And I super love this as an entrepreneur because I'm so busy running my business and managing all these exercise science, sports nutrition programs. Sometimes I don't have a huge amount of time to do a bunch of studying, though I do lots of studying. So having something that I could just pick up and go to the index and be like, oh, okay, this applies to me right now. I'm gonna go look up a couple things and read it for 5 minutes. And it kind of just helps to renew and rejuvenate my mind for the day. So anyways, that's a good little tool. Okay, so inner work. Okay, this is something that a lot of people do not give recognition to, that when they do, it actually starts to empower the subject in their life, okay? So inner work. Okay, inner work is, self-development, self-healing, self-education, learning about different parts of yourself and how you work, okay? And when it comes to food addiction, it's both a mental and a physical. It has both a mental and a physical aspect to it, just like any other addiction, just like any drug addiction, alcohol addiction, anything. It's just the difference with food is it doesn't work our brain out and kind of make us weird. I mean, it can affect your moods. It can definitely affect the way you feel and the way that you act. But it's not like alcohol creates a psychosis. If you're constantly drinking alcohol, it actually starts to warp your board. And you start to, you'll just, whatever the situation is, you might just see a slightly different version of it. And if you watch my last video on rigorous honesty, this will affect your ability to be rigorously honest. It'll affect that ability. So it does limit it. So understand, and a big thing, and this is something I've studied for over 26 years, is understanding the different mechanics between when you're having a mental or emotional struggle, like you have an idea that is programmed in your head, or you have a trigger, or you have some sort of an emotional, and I would say emotional triggers is probably one of the biggest ones, right? Like an emotional trigger can be getting injured in an exercise program. It's very, very common that when somebody gets injured in an exercise program, they quit eating clean, right? The nutrition goes out. So there's some sort of connection in that, and you may have your own triggers. But the law of recognition, when we start recognizing those things, that's the first step towards it going away and it not having power in our life, okay? And it starts the process of healing, okay? And healing looks different for all people, and it doesn't have to be something huge. That's the thing. I've been listening to people, okay? So I do exercise science, sports nutrition programs, and I listen to people for hours at a time. and the common things that people are struggling with. And the common things, the biggest struggles are not huge emotional traumas. They're not huge, big, massive negative things that happen to a person. They're actually ideas that get stuck in their head for some reason, and I don't know why the brain's attached to it, but the brain attaches to it, and it just does it. And I'm gonna go over some of those at the end of this show. And just some key topics are people that get stuck on not eating protein, people that get stuck on not eating a carb, or over fasting, or doing certain things that just do not make sense when it comes to the body, and at an excess, and it starts to create different imbalances. There is a way that our body is physically made. So I'll talk about those later, and because I do exercise science, sports, nutrition programs. So when I'm actually meeting with people, I profile people's metabolisms based off of a picture that they bring me. They say, okay, this is what I want to look like, okay? And then I put a mathematical, scientific process together. That's what exercise science, sports, nutrition is, to actually reach that goal. But the difficult thing for people, even when they're in a program, paying for advice, understanding that they're getting nutritional advice, the common subjects of marketing that are in commercials are coming out and dismantling a lot of different programs and making it harder and harder. And I contributed to that because they match the messages. I mean, it's probably multifaceted where it's coming from, but that's where inner work and self-development can, and giving like full recognition can make a huge difference, okay? Because like say if you're trying to change a habit in your life, and if you don't give recognition to it, you're not going to go down that trail for healing. You're not going to go down that trail for discovery, for the actual solution, okay? So we have an extremely fast world, and that's actually creating super fast minds. And this is a major thing that is actually affecting the process of just like being able to just, I would say it's affecting people's habits and fully thinking about things, or critical thinking, or anything that has to do with that. It's things that it seems that society is moving more towards maybe trigger thinking or one-liners, or it's not really thinking about what's going on, but it's just hearing something and reacting to it based off of a belief. And sometimes that can actually be very, very efficient, right? I mean, especially if you're very developed in who you are and your habits, then your automatic behavior can kind of just sink in. But if you have something firing off, and you feel like you don't have control, and it's kind of just taking too much space in your life and creating a reaction you don't like with your health or your body, or just even the way you feel. Because food addiction, like if you're eating certain things, it actually affects you chemically. I remember I gave a story in one of the other things. I live completely on clean eating. I eat very little processed foods. And really being able to identify the difference on what your body feels like on clean foods compared to processed foods is powerful. And that's recognition. Okay? That there's a difference and that's giving recognition to your body too. If we don't know that we have to give recognition to something, or if we just don't because we're busy and we're not thinking about it, well, that's when things start to fall apart. That's when things, when you can be out there researching all this stuff, be super intelligent with all this information that's up here, but nothing's embodied and nothing is living your lifestyle, or only a certain percentage is. And it's not the percentage that makes you feel happy with your body or your health, okay? So everything I'm gonna speak about is gonna be from the perspective of you reaching the goal that you have in your lenses and in your mind, okay? Because we all have an image in our mind in a way that we want to feel, okay? So that's what I'm specifically addressing. So we want to give recognition to all the things, all the line items that have to do with that. We want to give recognition to all of our weaknesses. We want to give recognition to our behaviors, our good strengths, our bad strengths, and anything that's neutral, good, bad, and neutral. We want to give recognition to all three categories evenly, and do not get into black and white, good and bad thinking, okay? Because there really is no such thing as good and bad. There's just in balance and out of balance. And in balance, you're actually living in what you have in your mind, in your belief system. Okay, out of balance, you're outside of your belief system, or you're getting a result that is outside of your belief system for some reason, either from your actions or just the way that life is working. Okay, so laws of recognition. Okay, and here's the spectrum. Recognizing what's going on with the world and where we lie in that spectrum and where we want to be. That's very truthful, very accurate thinking that gets us right in the mindset to take the next step, to reach whatever goal we have, or understand something that's going on with us that may need healing or some sort of education. Okay, but our world is super, super fast. And how our mind gets affected by that, that's another thing to recognize, okay? And that can be a difficult thing to recognize, because if you never even thought about that before, or you never heard of that, you might be like, what do you mean recognize how fast my mind is going? My mind is fine. Well, maybe you want to do a test, and just if you're getting a result that you're not happy with in your life, maybe start slowing down around that subject and start taking some notes. And use the tip I gave in my last video about rigorous honesty and rightly dividing the truth, okay? And that's all biblical also. And just sit there and work on your rigorous honesty and be like, okay, around this subject, am I not recognizing something? Okay? Am I choosing not to recognize something, or did I just pick up an idea from somebody I like? I just started thinking this way because I like this person. Am I believing in something that really does not match my desire or what I'm trying to create in my life? Because a lot of times, this is the way marketing and media and all our social norms work, and how a lot of programs and information get in our head that we didn't necessarily go out and intend to find. It just ends up in there. But there's a lot of common ways that people think, and 80% of those ideas do come from marketing and media and work with the social norm. Okay, so you can think of this system that on a mass, there's individual psychology, group psychology, and then mass psychology. So individual would be you, group might be your family or a business, and then mass is just basically on a massive level. Well, those three things work mechanically different. Okay, and as humans, we're social emotional beings. It's the most beautiful, best part about being human. We're actually extremely powerful beings, and when we learn when we learn how the flow of us works, the more we learn how the flow of us works, the more powerful we are. Okay, and the more our energy in motion and that what we're projecting out gets in line with the stuff we want and desire in our life, and brings balance and peace. Okay, and balance and peace is a big signal from the body to recognize, because when you feel peace and you feel calmness, that is somewhere you should be, or something you should do, or it's a statement of that you're in line with your belief system, and your life is in line with your belief system. Because some things, like we can, even if when we align our mind, we can't control the outside circumstances. So they're always playing role back and forth. So, but anyway, back to the mass psychology. Okay, so if you've ever played the telephone game, like when you're in elementary school, like you have those little paper cups. Okay, this is how marketing and media works with the social norm on a massive scale. Okay, it works at this like super, super simple level, and this is how a lot of things get programmed in, and it's in the repetition, in the word count. But so you have everybody sitting in a circle, right? And everybody has they whisper in each other's ear. They just go around in the circle and they whisper in each other's ear, right? That's exactly how marketing and media works. Somebody hears something on the TV, they're chatting with their friend or their family, and they say it. And it also the effect that the telephone game gives for how stuff gets watered down through that process and changes, and because opinions, or maybe somebody doesn't know how to shape words the same way, starts shifting a little bit or changing a little bit. So, but that's how it works, right? And so there was a day that you heard the word Coca-Cola, and your mind was blank. But now if I said that to you, probably the first image that popped in your head was a Coca-Cola can, right? So that's how social norms work. And with such a fast-paced society, it works even more because we actually just don't have as much time to think, okay? So this is a very, very powerful thing to recognize right now, okay? Self-development and inner work or body development is a luxury, okay? Working on yourself and healing yourself and having space and time in your life to do that is a luxury. A lot of people don't even have the time anymore, even if they wanted to spend time sorting out their self and solving a problem. Okay, so if you're a person that does have the time, give recognition to that. You have the time and it's a luxury. And when you actually spend the time, something amazing is gonna come back in your life. And it's gonna have something to do with removing a block, removing something that was stopping you, and supercharging you to be the best version of yourself, okay? And that's one of my goals with this channel, is to create a ton of people that are just the best versions of themselves. So, okay. Okay, so I mentioned earlier that natural laws supersede any written law, okay? And there's a ton of different natural laws out there, okay? You can learn a ton of them in the Bible, or there's a lot of people that have written books and have made like shorter sentences just so it's a little bit easier to understand. Our language has changed a lot also, so it's like we even speak differently than when the Bible was originally created, so that kind of helps when you have different stuff. But there is, but natural laws they just will do what they're gonna do despite anything that's going on with your life, just like money. Money's just going to have its own flow. Our body is gonna have its own flow. The original creation is the foods that started in the earth when the earth began. Okay, so that's the original formula, that's the unedited formula, that's the unchanged formula. We are carbon-based beings, our food is carbon-based. This is I mentioned earlier, there's a mental and a physical aspect towards breaking food addiction, okay? So the mental aspect, giving recognition, working on healing, you know, and doing inner work. And there's lots of different versions of inner works. Join this channel, I'm gonna be going through a lot of them. I would get this book. This is a great little tool because it's fast to work on different focuses that help break and get you organized and starting to do some self-development. The other part is chemical, okay? And the chemical part has nothing to do with our emotions. It has nothing to do with us. Our organs, they have a process and a flow, and they're just gonna do cause and effect. They're just gonna do those actions, okay? And the way our body is set up, the way it's designed, like a car is designed a certain way, okay? A car, you know, and that's man-made, but it's still, it's a great example. The car is constructed the way it is, and we have to manage all those different parts of the car and make sure that to keep the different parts fresh. And then we only put gasoline in it, right? Because the car just uses gasoline to move and do stuff, right? We don't put anything else. And if we started putting something else, like if we started putting sugar or processed food in the car, then we're gonna spend time taking our car to the mechanic. We're gonna spend money replacing parts or possibly buying a new car. We're not gonna get to enjoy the car. And it's gonna take us away from being the person we're supposed to be in the first place, right? So, because maintaining a car and taking care of a car properly is just part of having a car, right? And so by not recognizing these different aspects of the car and what needs to be done with the car, it now takes me off my track of just focusing on me being the best me and whatever my focus is in life, right? And now I have to deal with something that's stressful, that's something that costs money, and maybe I don't get to go on a trip, or I don't get, and I have a convertible, so I like my convertible. Maybe I don't get to enjoy my convertible, all those kind of things, right? So that's very, very similar to food, right? But food does have this extra component that sugar is 8 times more addictive than cocaine. And most processed foods convert to sugar when you eat them, okay? And I'm gonna write down why the sugars are addictive. I'm gonna give you a visual of that, okay? So, on this graph, this is the difference between proteins, carbs, and fats, okay? And I would join my channel because I have tons of stuff already on understanding the difference between proteins, carbs, and fats, but I'll also have more videos. This is an important process to understand and give full recognition to balance out the chemistry in your body if you want to not deal with food addiction, okay? Because this is the chemical process. This is what is happening, okay? This is the core part of the food addiction, okay? Not the mental part, or emotional, just the chemical reaction. So and these aren't exactly the size, but it'll just give you the idea of the difference in the size. Okay, if this was a protein molecule, right? If that was the size of a protein molecule, this might be the size of a complex carbohydrate, like a yam or a rice, like a healthy one, right? A one ingredient one from the earth, right? And this little dot right here if it was 30 times smaller than this dot, okay? So 30 times, and I actually made the dot too big. I'm gonna make it a little bit smaller. There's this little itty bitty dot right there. So we'll say a sugar molecule, like from a candy bar or something else like that, is like 30 times smaller than that itty bitty dot, okay? So this is why we like the sugar. It's actually the size of the molecule, okay? When the most euphoric feeling you can have in the world, more than any illegal or legal drug, even more than an orgasm, is the sugar, processed carb, fat combination. That's a pizza, that's an ice cream, that's all your comfort foods. That is the most euphoric feeling in the world, more than what a cocaine addict deals with, okay? And it's in your mouth. It's a party in your mouth. Carbohydrates and saturated fats are digested in the mouth. Proteins and all the other fats are digested in the tummy. So as soon as the food hits your mouth, right, whether it's an ice cream or a pizza or whatever, there's a chemical reaction that happens. And because that molecule is so itty bitty, it shoots through your system like a rocket, just like this explosive rocket. And when it explodes like that, it's like, whoa, my mouth is stimulated. I have a party in my mouth. And that's what the pizza and the ice cream is. It's the party in your mouth. It's the most euphoric feeling, okay? So it's more powerful than anything out there, okay? And we've had more changes to our food industry the past 300 years than the past 10,000 years. We have major corporations with billions of dollars hiring food chemists with 7-year degrees that all they do is study your taste bud to have that reaction and see if they can come up with a chemical that's even more reactive so that you spend $3 on a product the rest of your life. Consumerism, okay? So consumerism. So working on breaking food addiction takes you out of consumerism. Okay, one of the number one areas people spend money is anything under weight loss or health. Okay, and and there's so much confusion out there. But I would go back to the original design. Okay, there's a lot of stability and a lot of balance in how things were originally set up from the beginning. Before terms got changed, before marketing came in there, before the free market came in there, okay? These naturally occurring foods cannot be owned or patented, okay? But there's all these different things that can, and so it's more profitable if you can own something. So it's almost like the past is getting out-marketed by all these new ideas and brands and logos, just so somebody else can be the new best company or whatever. It's a free market. The free market is just so saturated. Okay, so, but anyways, back to the chemical process, okay? And giving recognition to that, what I just said, is powerful. Just think about that. If you gave full recognition to what's going on in our world, how fast people are coming, how this food addiction is really on the rise, right? I mean, it's just massive, right? The number one things people spend money on is weight loss and health. And I just imagine, I look at, and we're just so unhealthy nowadays. And I just go, gosh, like all these people are just picking up their money and just like dumping it in the trash, right? And they're not getting real solutions. And part of it's not their fault though, too. because there's mass manipulation of information in the market, okay? Or there's a lot of the history that is not understood. And I think if people understood their histories, they would be better equipped in their decision making to understand how to get the balance on on the flow of their path. Okay, so research is important. I gave that tip the other day. We have to research stuff. We have to understand stuff. So understand the original foods. That's one of the most powerful things, and the difference between one ingredient foods and processed foods. That is a life changer. And I'm going to be talking about that all on this channel, so you can just join this channel. But anyways, okay, back to that chemical process. So you have a party in your mouth. Okay, that's that right there. That is the addiction. Okay, and so just like a cocaine addict or an alcoholic, and alcohol is sugar alcohol too, it just starts warping the brain, right? The processed food is still sugar too. That massive bread aisle where you see all those options, it's like you're lucky if you find one bread that does not convert to sugar on that aisle. Okay, all tortillas, most all tortillas convert to sugar. It's like, and you don't realize that while you're driving down the street, right, at around 11 o'clock, an hour before lunch, and you're smelling all those aromas, that what all the restaurants are doing is they're letting out these aromas. And what's in the aromas is sugar or some sort of chemical that connects to sugar. And your choice of food, and I'm going to actually just clear that definition. I don't call processed food real food. I call it processed food. I call the stuff that comes from the earth food. That's the original definition, okay? I use the original definition when I'm talking about the food. And the processed food, it's altered, okay? And something different always happens when it goes through our system, okay? There's always something that does not match in the system, whether it's small or it's big, okay? So, but when you're driving down, and it's that 11 o'clock to 12 o'clock hour, you know, and all these restaurants are letting out these aromas, okay? And what your chemistry will attach to, if you're eating sugar on a regular basis, right? So just like if a cocaine addict is having cocaine on a regular basis, right? The chemical is in the system. If you smell it, you're gonna want it and you're gonna go do it, okay? And you might be eating tortillas. Your carb of choice might be a tortilla. It might be a bread. It might be Subway. It might be some other sort of processed thing that they put an addictive chemical in there. But when we smell it, our brain will automatically think about that, okay? And it's a chemical reaction, right? Now there is a mental and a physical part. So it really does take a good time span doing your own inner work to start being able to separate them out. To where you're like, okay, no, I actually had that thought or that reaction because I'm just used to thinking about that. Or it's just your body reaction, your chemistry, wanting to bring that in there, okay? So the first thing you really want to do with these chemistries is give full recognition to the chemical process. That whether the sugar is in an alcohol beverage or in a ho-ho or a tortilla or a Subway sandwich, they are all eight times more addictive than cocaine. If we don't give recognition to that, then we're gonna go, oh, well, I saw the Subway commercial, so I'm gonna go eat the Subway. And I'm gonna keep that chemical in there. And Subway said it was weight loss, so I'm gonna do that, right? Well, you're not giving recognition to what's happening in your body. You're not listening to your body, okay? And in my last video, I brought up rigorous honesty, right? In developing rigorous honesty, if we're having a reaction in our body, we want to say, oh, I am having a reaction in my body, right? And then right then you just gave recognition to it. And then the first thing that happens when you give recognition to it, then you're like, well, I need to find another option. Let me go find another option. And then your brain goes on that trail to find another option. And then there are other options out there that are good, that will satisfy you just as much. Okay, that's the cool thing. People don't realize that doing the full conversion from processed food eating to clean eating, when the chemistry gets cleared out, you actually don't crave those things anymore. And there becomes a point, and I've seen this with like every single person that goes through the process, and they all say, I cannot believe I waited. That's exactly what they say. I cannot believe that I waited, okay? But there's a certain process that if we wait and we keep that chemical out of the body, there's a certain point where our body goes, I'm not craving it anymore, and you don't think about it, right? And then there also becomes a point where you're just like, you smell it and you're like, well, I'm not even attracted to it anymore. And then that's your chemistry helping you. Okay, that's your chemistry actually, and that's part of what real lifestyle change looks like. Okay, lifestyle change is not when we're sitting at a table and we can't do this and we have to do that, which is very punishing and regulatory. Lifestyle change, if we really do inner work, okay, we actually really do get self-control. We actually really do get balance. And what happens, what it looks like, we're sitting at a table and we're attracted to the things that are going to align us with our belief system. And we're no longer attracted to the things that are going to throw us off our belief system, even if we got enjoyment out of them. Okay. So, and that's what a lifestyle change looks like, right? So, and that's also a big thing to recognize. Okay. So I've been doing programs for 26 years, and I contribute a lot of this to marketing and media, and it's because it controls 80% of the world's ideas. But the common message in marketing and media is there's something wrong with you, okay? And you need this to fix it. Pull out your pocketbook, pull out your time, okay? That's the constant message in marketing. So anybody who wants to sell a product, whether it's a good product or a bad product or a service, a good one or a bad one, it's the same exact message, okay? And think about that for a second, how the human brain would absorb that, okay? You're just told, like your brain is not a computer, right? So you cannot take your entire life and everything that you heard in your life and sort out all those words, the word count and the words, and properly organize them and say, oh, these are the things that are waste, I'm gonna throw them out, and these are the ones that are not. Yeah, I mean, just even that process alone takes research, right? Most people nowadays, like I mentioned earlier, their mind is so fast, their society is so fast, so we can't even help it, right? That we just go off of a lot of one-liners. And a lot of times we'll hear something from somebody we trust and just go with it, okay? Or we'll hear something from the commercial or whatever. But how it actually works is through repetition. And years 1 through 5 are the most programmable years of a life, and 5 through 15 are the next stages. So it's just the action of multiple words being repeated over and over and over and over and over. And it doesn't even matter if they're true or not. Okay. And most people have watched TV or they're on social media. They're getting some sort of effect from outside information coming in. Okay. Those words do start affecting us. And if you want to analyze a really good thing to be rigorously honest about is to sit down, right? And write a list and start writing down what these automatic thoughts are and catching them. And I say catching them because people don't realize that they keep thinking in a way or doing things in a way that maybe is not even true. Okay, I'm not going to say maybe, actually. I'm going to take that back. It's not true. Okay, what is a true statement is that the human body is very powerful and it has innate healing abilities, especially when we remove stuff out of the body that is breaking it down, that does not match the body, and we fill it full of the tools and nutrients it was designed for, okay? And there's tons of PhDs and doctors and people out there in my industry showing massive examples of this. And if you're on my channel, you're attracted to something with that, okay? But even if your body's not in the status where you're like, okay, my body is not amazing, it actually is. It's just everything works off of cause and effect, okay? Everything works off of cause and effect, okay? So an addiction works off of cause and effect also, okay? So understanding and giving full recognition to what's happening when the addiction stuff is happening and separating out the mental and the physical and it can be simple. Sometimes you could just write stuff down. It's really about getting to the core root and honest with things. Once you're honest with something and you label it, if you can label it correctly, you have the probability of healing from it, okay? So, but listen to what I said, if you label it correctly, okay? If you mislabel stuff because you have not gotten to a truthful standpoint with it, or you don't have the knowledge, because sometimes we don't have the knowledge because we have to go out there and research. Sometimes we're actually blocking answers, right? And this, I put on the title, this is about blocks. So if you're watching this, you're interested in the blocks, right? And how to get rid of them, okay? The recognizing stuff is the number one way to get rid of blocks, okay? And then if we're dealing with food addiction, we first have to recognize it emotionally, and then we have to recognize it with our chemistry, okay? Because if we don't recognize it emotionally, and we keep, if we only recognize it emotionally, like we say, yeah, I know I have an addiction, but we don't recognize it with our actions, we don't get any of the benefits, okay? So people that are eating sugar on a daily basis, or things that convert to sugar on a daily basis, are playing with fire. It's gonna be extremely hard to take out that addiction and start finding peace and balance, okay? Just like an alcoholic or anybody else with a drug addiction, we have to take that chemical out. We have to adapt the body to a different chemistry, okay? We have to get it on things, and if you get it on the natural foods, it starts its own natural healing process, okay? And that's the cool thing. That's super cool. But anyways, we have to give recognition to those things, okay? All right. Okay, so, all right, the laws, okay. So some other things with the physical and the mental. Okay, so when you take out, okay, there's the mental, you want to do like inner work, and I'll be going over stuff on this channel. This is a great book. The physical, we want to take the chemistry, we want to take the chemical out, okay, completely. And for some people, I recommend being a sugar-free person. Just be, and how you want to decide what rules you create on sugar is by reading your own self. Okay, there's a lot of information that we need to get from our own self that we cannot get from outside sources. Okay, that's another social norm thing right now, is in the social norm, most people are listening and following a list, and they don't even understand these lists, whether it's nutrition or it's exercise or whatever, and they're not paying attention to what's going on in their body. Okay, when you start reading the body, it's actually more powerful, right? Like if I have a gassy gut, right? Dairy is a good one, right? Or there's other things that create gassy guts too, but if I have a gassy gut and I'm choosing to keep eating the foods that cause the gassy gut, well, I'm gonna tell you from an expert's standpoint, I think it's almost impossible, because I've never seen it in 26 years, for anybody to have a gassy gut and feel at peace and feel good about their body, okay? I've seen this over and over and over and over and over again, because I do measurement sessions, right? So, that's all I do is I listen to people, right? If I have somebody with a gassy gut, you know, what a gassy gut does is you live with an extra 3 to 5 pounds. Like if I ate dairy or different things, I would live with an extra 3 to 5 pounds, and I don't want the extra 3 to 5 pounds, so I became a dairy-free person. And I would have, like, you know, flagellants and like other types of stuff, right? So if a food is causing this type of reaction and you're living with it, I've never had a person that has a gassy gut that does not always talk about that. And I can even have them and show them the stats, break it all down on a piece of paper, which is scientific, which is science. And exercise science, sports nutrition is a scientific mathematical process. The way I do it, it is. Some of them are just lists out there, but I do the actual process. They can be in a complete state of body fat reduction. Like I can show them their stats are down or whatever, but just because their gut is filled with air and poofing out, and while they're sitting in a chair, and if you think about it, while you're sitting in a chair, if you're full of gas, you actually feel it more, okay? They never get, it's like their mind is emotional. It puts it in an emotional state, and it's like they cannot give any recognition to the benefits that they just got from all their hard work. Okay, from a gassy gut. And and I just actually want to point out, because I just brought up the ability to not give recognition to good things. That is a major, major issue within all programs. They actually is one of the number one contributors to why people fail. is because they can't give recognition into the things and the things that they need to give themselves credit for. Okay, and I'm gonna actually come back to that and talk about that a little bit more after I talk about this gassy gut thing. But that is a game changer when you start living in the benefits and you start giving full recognition to all this hard work that you're doing. You actually do more. So the gassy gut. So, and because I've been doing programs for a long time, and I've really I keep changing my program, and I always change it depending on what's going on in society. Needs, what people need help with to succeed at reaching their goal or solving problems or working on themselves. So I'm always shifting stuff. And I have an amazing app that I'm launching too. So you'll be able to hear about that on this channel. That is just an amazing tool. But anyways, but it's like, I could have people 30 pounds down, 20 pounds down. If their gut is gassy, that's all they will talk about. And they'll say they feel fat, and they'll actually think that they're fat. Like, I can see it in their eyes. I can see it in their eyes that so much emotion is coming up, and there's so much emotion coming out of their vibrational body that they're unhappy with their body. And while those emotions are coming out, that's a communication with your body. Remember, communication is not always talking. Okay, that is one form of communication, but you can and you can test this, or you've already tested this in your life or experienced this in your life. Like, when you walk in a room, like if I were to go to downtown LA right now and just start walking on the streets, I'd probably have my shoulders up, and I'd probably be a little bit nervous, and I'd probably be like, okay, I'm unsure about the energy of the people here, and I might even just not feel comfortable. Whereas if I went into a gym or like a spa or some other place, or like even a bank that's professional, I'm gonna feel like, okay, I feel safe here. And then even safer is being at a family event, right? You have your shoulders even down. Those are all three different emotions, right? What was I saying? I was saying the gassy gut, sorry. So those are different emotions, right? So while you have a gassy gut, and you can apply this to a gassy gut or any other food that you need to make a decision whether to keep in your life or remove from your life, okay? And that's a very educated way to think about it. Okay, is this thing benefiting me? Should I take it out, or should I keep it in, or should I only have it at a certain amount? Okay, that's how we want to read our body to create rules like that. Okay, so but if something is radiating that much emotion out of you, your brain on an unconscious level is telling your body something's wrong with it. So you're constantly in a position where you're feeling bad about your body, and it's only gas in your gut. It actually has nothing to do with your body. But the body is having a dis-ease, right? There's no ease in a bunch of gas in the gut, right? And one thing that all medical practices agree on is that every dis-ease starts in the colon. Every dis-ease starts in the colon. So I really recommend ease. Research the flow of body, do inner work, and live in ease. So anyways, but that's a vibrational energy. Okay, that's your energy in motion vibrating out. Okay, and so you're sitting there when the gas is gut. That's a physical thing that's happening. That's turning into a mental thing that's happening. The mental thing is that now your brain is only focused on, there's something wrong with my body. There's something wrong with my body. Well, we already got that message from marketing. Okay, we don't need any other help. Okay, we need to actually get that message out of there, because there's actually nothing wrong with the body. It just works on cause and effect, right? Just like a car, right? If we take care of the car, it'll function well. If we start putting other things in there that don't make sense for the car, and the car dictates that, right? Just like our body will dictate that. Your body's going to talk to you, right? If your gut is doing that, if your gut is in dis-ease, it's telling you, I'm not in ease. I'm not in ease. Please put me in ease. That's what the gut is saying, right? So giving recognition to that is powerful, because once you recognize, oh, my gut is talking to me, and it's not in ease, and it wants to be in ease, well, then you can actually stop thinking about the fact that there's something wrong with your gut. Like, you don't even have to think about it anymore, right? You just get rid of the food, you stop doing the dairy or whatever's irritating your gut, and then you never have to think about it again. You can move forward, and you can actually think about something else, right? And a lot of times when people are removing that, they're on their way to reaching their goal, which their goal is way more exciting than the dairy or the thing that's irritating their gut. I mean, wouldn't you rather be like, oh my gosh, I'm excited to think about this new healthy fit body that I created. Oh, I'm so excited about my exercise. Wouldn't you rather have this stuff in your brain? Our mind can only think about one thing at any given time, okay? So if it's stuck in the problem and going over the problem, it's gonna be stuck in the problem and going over the problem, okay? Or we can learn, we can move forward. I mean, if you wanna stay there, you can. But if you don't, do the inner work, do the education, live in the benefits. Live in the benefits. When you're over here living in the benefits, that also releases energy. And the energy that gets released when you're like, oh, I feel good about my body, I feel good about my health. I mean, that's priceless, okay? And anybody can do it. Anyone can do it. We're all amazingly powerful beings, and any one of us can do it. So I highly recommend that you do. And let's see, what was that other point? Oh, I should have wrote that down, that I was going to go over the recognition of the. Okay, well, I'm going to link this book in the description. I know I thought of one more. Oh, this is one more thing I want to go over. Okay, 3 things to recognize. Okay, 3 things to recognize, to give full recognition to. Okay, so here's some tips to get you started. And you have to answer what these mean. Number 1, it's your job to do the research. You're responsible for doing the research. Even though I'm providing free information, it's part of my life and part of just spreading out great energy, and there's many other people that do that, which is amazing, right? Humanity working together, but it's your job to know. It's nobody else's job to teach you. It's nobody else's job to hold your hand. It's nobody else's job to make sure that you do it. You're an adult, and adults are responsible to self-govern themselves, and we have a free will, okay? God gave us this inherent right that we can live in balance, sort of in balance, or not in balance at all. So, and if this is triggering you, and it's triggering out in response, maybe you want to give recognition to that. That's an area where maybe some healing or education or something, okay? So if this sparked your emotion, maybe go do some research and give recognition. There's healing. Okay, number 2, it's your job to heal yourself. And here's the thing. We all have different things that happen in our life, right? Very negative things. I've had some very emotionally damaging things happen in my life. It's not the things that happen in life. Those aren't your responsibility. And they're unfortunate that they happen. We do live in a broken world, so a lot of these things are happening. But what's important, what's your responsibility is to heal from it. And when you do, you're gonna have so many amazing things come into your life, because it's gonna clear out things out of your life, and you're not gonna have to deal with things anymore, okay? And we're a really good example of this, or motivation for it. Like, you could take abuse, physical abuse, or just something really, really horrible. It's like it was completely wrong, okay? Like, it should have never happened. Whoever the person was that did it was just not in balance, and they did really, really, really wrong things, right? Well, when you don't heal from things, that situation stays a living presence in your life, however much you talk or give your brain energy to it. So you might not be talking about it, but it might be capturing 80% of your day. It might affect your other relationships. It might affect your trust. It might affect some sort of ability for you to be the wonderful, amazing, beautiful person you are inside, the best you, okay? Not healing from things is a block. That's one of the number 1 blocks out there, is something that's unhealed. And things that are triggered are unhealed things, okay? And sometimes it can be a dramatic event where something actually abusive happened to you. Sometimes it could be just some message you heard in marketing over and over and over again, and it has nothing to do with anything, okay? But in either case, we want to get rid of these messages and heal from them, okay? What happens when you heal from a traumatic event? I just, say somebody didn't heal from some sort of abuse. That could stop them from getting married. It can stop them from having relationships. It can stop them from being able to enjoy people in their lives. It can stop them from losing the weight that they want. What essentially it's doing is it's just stopping them to be the best them, like I mentioned, okay? Now, when you heal from stuff, it doesn't change that something happened. The only thing it changes is that thing no longer rules different parts of your life. And things that we don't heal from do rule different parts of our lives. And it looks differently per person. So you have to be the person that writes those down and is rigorously honest and just takes the time to look at them, slows down the brain to say, this is what it is. And labeling something correctly, rightly dividing the truth, and really up-leveling your honesty is a very powerful practice in doing that. And honesty is a practice, so we can always get better at it, okay? So it's your job to heal yourself. The third one, it's your job to manage all parts of your life, good, bad, and neutral, okay? It's all, so everything in your life is your responsibility to manage. Even the things that don't go the way that we intended, or the things that other people put onto our life, even if it was wrong or whatever it is. It's our job to manage our life. And struggles are part of life. And when we can overcome struggles, there's a bunch of benefits that come into them. And that's part of natural laws. That is part of natural laws. When you spend time, like in a book like this, and this is a really, really great book, and there's other books out there too. So there's lots of different ways to do that. I just brought up this book because it's just fast and people don't have a lot of time. And I used to use this as a busy professional. You could just look at the index, right? And just spend some time. But if we don't go through the process to healing, these things just stay in our life, okay? And they can keep us eating things that are not good. They can keep us doing things. They keep us not changing. A fast mind keeps us not changing. Not working on ourselves keeps us not changing. Not taking out foods that are highly addictive or lowering them to a degree to where they don't affect them. Because remember, it's all about reading the body. So like for all my people, I don't just remove all the sugar. I actually spend some time with the client to figure out, is it just doing a certain amount of sugar that keeps the balance, right? And balance is the key. Balance is very much a key word in this. Okay, so, I hope you took notes on and found some things in this show useful, and I will see you later in the week. Bye.